The rabbi of the MECCA synagogue embraced Islam. Every person has a different way of arriving at the truth. Towards Moshe Kravitsky, this path passed through a law school, a synagogue, and a prison. The future lawyer became a rabbi, then converted to Islam and discovers himself in prison. Today Musa, 1. This is the name he adopted when he became a Muslim, lives in a small mosque in Al-Barikent, a mountainous area of MECCA, and works as a watchman at the central Juma mosque. Interviewer: Muse, before we start talking, you asked what we would talk. I said, about you. Musa: what's so interesting about me? If you were amazed, I live in the mosque. Interviewer: how did you come to live in the mosque? Muse: well, I just showed up. And I stayed. Interviewer: did you find your way easily? Muse: with great difficulty. It was hard at the time, and it's not much any more easy now. When you delve into the inner meaning of Islam, he understands that this religion is very simple, but the path that leads to it can be extremely difficult. Often people don't understand how a person can convert to Islam from the other side. But there are no sides here. Islam is everything that exists, both what we imagine and what we don't imagine. Interviewer: Musa, we received this fact with a certain sensation. A rabbi who became a Muslim. Muse: well, there hasn't been a feeling for quite a while. There's been more than 1 year I did it. It was strange to me at first, too. But it wasn't a thoughtless decision. When I came to Islam, I had read books about it and had interested state. Interviewer: did you complete high school before entering synagogue? Muse: yes, I completed a religious high school. After I came to MECCA and became the local rabbi. Interviewer: and where are you from? Muse: oh, from far away. But I have already become a true Dagestan. Have many friends here, both among Muslims and among people who are far from Islam. Interviewer: let's go back to his work in the synagogue. Muse: I was in a very paradoxical situation. There was a mosque nearby of the synagogue, the city's mosque. Sometimes my friends who were yours regulars came to me, just to talk. Sometimes I would come to mosque, to see how religious services were conducted. It was very interested, so we lived as good neighbors. And once, during Ramadan, a woman came to me. As I now understand, she belonged to the people. She was historically Muslim, and asked me to comment on the Russian translation of the Quran made by Krachkovsky. Interviewer: she brought the Quran to you, a rabbi? Muse: yes, and she asked me to give her the Torah to read. So I tried to read the Quran, about 10 times. It was very difficult, but gradually I began to understand, and to have a basic notion of Islam. Here, Musa looks at my friend's son, Ahmed, 6 years old, who fell asleep in the courtyard of the mosque. Should we take him inside the mosque? Asked Musa. And that woman brought back the Torah. It was very difficult for her to read it and understand it, because religious literature requires concentration and attention extreme. Interviewer: Musa, and when you read the translation, you must have started to compare it with the Torah. Muse: I found answers to many questions in the Quran. It doesn't stop all of them, of course, because it was not the original Arabic, but the translation. But I began to understand things. Interviewer: this means that you can't find some answers in the Judaism? Muse: I don't know, there is the will of Allah in everything. Apparently, those Jews who Muslims in the time of the Prophet could not find some answers in Judaism, but they found them in Islam. Perhaps they were attracted by the personality of the Prophet, his behavior, his way of communicating with the people. It is an important topic. Interviewer: And what exactly were the questions you couldn't ask? Find the answers in Judaism? Muse. Before I came into contact with Islam, there were questions for the which had never tried to find answers. Probably an important part here has been performed by a book written by Ahmad Deedat, a South African scholar, comparing the Quran and the Bible. There is a well-known phrase key of those who are familiar with religious matters: follow the prophet who is to come. And when I studied Islam, I understood that Prophet Muhammad is the prophet to be followed. Both the Bible and the Torah tell us to do this. I didn't invent anything. Interviewer. And what does the Torah say about the prophet? Muse. We will not be able to find his name in the Torah, but we can discover it using a special key. For example, we can understand that God, this or that particular person in the story, loves it. The formula you describe the last prophet, may the mercy and blessings of God be upon him, is that he would worship the one God, the creator of the world. Prophet Muhammad beats with this description accurately. When I read this, I was very interested. I knew nothing about Islam before that, so I decided to delve deeper into the subject and see if there were any connected miracles and signs to the name of the prophet. The Bible tells us that the Lord sends miracles for the prophets to confirm their special mission in the eyes of the prophets. I asked the alims, scholars, about it, and they said, here is a collection of true hadiths that describe the miracles connected with the prophet. Then I read what the prophet always said, that there had been prophets and messengers before him. We can find their names in the Torah and in the Bible. When I was just starting to get interested, it sounded weird for me. And then, well, my own actions led to that happened to me. Sometimes I wonder, why did I read all this? Maybe I should say Taba, prayer of repentance, now for having thoughts like this.